Remember the thrill of opening a Kinder Surprise egg only to find a tiny toy hidden inside? It's hard to believe, but this childhood favorite is now banned in some countries. Let's take a trip down memory lane and explore the sweet treats that defined our youth but are now off limits. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great! Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. Now, let's talk about a sweet that stirred up more controversy than a playground rumor. Remember those chalk-like sticks that made you feel like a mini James Dean? Turns out, candy cigarettes weren't just harmless fun. Their connection to real smoking habits might shock you. Picture this. It's the 1960s, and you're strolling down the candy aisle with your allowance burning a hole in your pocket. Your eyes land on a familiar sight, a pack of candy cigarettes. These weren't your ordinary sweets. They were designed to look just like the real deal, complete with packaging that mimicked actual cigarette brands like Marlboro and Camel. The attention to detail was impressive, right down to the colorful tips that imitated the glow of a lit cigarette. For us kids, these candy cigarettes were more than just a sugar rush. They were a gateway to the grown-up world, a chance to play pretend. We'd hold them between our fingers, just like we'd seen our parents or favorite movie stars do. We'd bring them to our lips, savoring the sweetness instead of actual smoke. It was all part of the game, a way to feel mature and rebellious without any real danger, or so we thought. But here's where things get interesting. As time went on, concerns started to bubble up about these seemingly innocent treats. Parents and health experts began to worry that candy cigarettes might be influencing kids' perceptions of smoking. The fear was that by making smoking seem fun and harmless, these candies could be paving the way for real tobacco use later in life. And you know what? They might have been onto something. A 2007 survey dropped a bombshell. People who smoked candy cigarettes as kids were about twice as likely to become adult smokers. Talk about a sweet turning sour. As awareness about the dangers of smoking increased, particularly in the 1980s, the popularity of candy cigarettes took a nosedive. Society's attitude towards smoking was shifting, and suddenly, these once-beloved treats were seen in a whole new light. While they were never officially banned across the board, many stores stopped carrying them, and some places even went as far as to outlaw them. North Dakota, for instance, banned the chalky versions between 1953 and 1967. While candy cigarettes lost their appeal, another treat was busy captivating kids worldwide. But this chocolate delight had a secret that would soon landed on the wrong side of the law. Can you guess which sweet treat became an international outlaw? Enter the Kinder Surprise egg, a confectionery marvel that combined two childhood favorites, chocolate and toys. These eggs weren't your average Easter treat. Wrapped in colorful foil, they promised a double dose of excitement. Crack open the chocolate shell, and voila! A tiny plastic capsule containing a miniature toy awaited discovery. For kids growing up in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, Kinder Surprise eggs were the ultimate treat. The thrill of unwrapping that shiny foil, the satisfying crack of the chocolate, and the anticipation of what toy might be hiding inside, it was a sensory experience like no other. Each egg was a mystery waiting to be solved, a tiny treasure chest of possibilities. The joy of Kinder Surprise eggs wasn't just about the chocolate, though, let's be honest, that was pretty great too. It was all about that moment of revelation when you opened the capsule. Would it be a tiny puzzle, a collectible figurine, or maybe one of those cool toys you had to assemble yourself? The possibilities seemed endless, and that's what made these treats so magical. In many parts of the world, Kinder Surprise eggs became a cultural phenomenon. Kids traded toys, compared collections, and begged their parents for just one more every time they went shopping. These weren't just candies. They were a shared experience, a topic of playground conversations and a staple of childhood memories. But here's where our sweet story takes an unexpected turn. While children around the globe were happily cracking open their Kinder eggs, a storm was brewing in the United States. You see, there was a catch to this beloved treat, one that would ultimately lead to its downfall in America. The very feature that made Kinder Surprise eggs so exciting, the toy hidden inside, was also what made them potentially dangerous. The small parts inside these eggs posed a choking hazard, especially for young children who might not understand the difference between the edible chocolate and the inedible toy. In the eyes of U.S. regulators, these innocent-looking treats violated a long-standing rule. Candies with non-food objects fully enclosed inside them were considered unsafe. The Food and Drug Administration, FDA, stood firm on this, effectively banning Kinder Surprise eggs from entering the country. It's a classic case of safety concerns clashing with childhood fun. While many argued that proper supervision and age recommendations could mitigate the risks, others saw the ban as a necessary precaution. After all, how do you explain to a toddler that part of their chocolate egg isn't meant to be eaten? The Kinder Surprise ban in the U.S. sparked debates about product safety, parental responsibility, and even cultural differences in approach to children's products. While kids in Europe and other parts of the world continued to enjoy their surprise-filled eggs, American children were left wondering why they couldn't partake in this global phenomenon. As the 90s rolled in, a new breed of candy emerged that would make our mouths pucker and our dentists worry. These weren't your average sweets. They were a test of willpower, a playground challenge, and a growing concern for parents and health officials alike. What made these extreme candies push the boundaries of what we considered safe for kids? Enter the world of warheads and toxic waste, the reigning champions of the extreme candy trend. These sour sensations weren't just candy, they were an experience. Remember the first time you popped a warhead in your mouth? That intense, face-scrunching sourness that made your eyes water and your cheeks pucker? It was like a flavor explosion that dared you to keep it in your mouth. For us 90s kids, these candies were more than just a treat. They were a rite of passage, a way to prove your toughness on the playground. We'd challenge each other to see who could eat the most warheads without flinching. It was all fun and games, watching your friends' faces contort as they braved the sour storm. But warheads were just the beginning. Toxic waste took the extreme candy game to a whole new level. Packaged in little plastic barrels that looked like hazardous waste containers, these candies lived up to their name. They were even more intense than warheads, pushing the limits of what our taste buds could handle. The appeal of these candies wasn't just their extreme sourness, it was the whole experience, the anticipation, the challenge, the bragging rights that came with conquering the sourest candy on the block. Kids would gather around, watching in awe as their brave or foolish friends took on the toxic waste challenge. But here's where our sour adventure takes a turn. As these extreme candies grew in popularity, concerns started to bubble up. Parents and dentists began to worry about the effects of all that acidity on children's teeth. Reports started coming in of kids experiencing burns on their tongues and damage to their tooth enamel. The culprit? The high acidity levels in these candies. While a little sour taste is harmless, the extreme acidity in warheads and toxic waste was pushing into dangerous territory. Dentists warned that frequent consumption could lead to serious dental issues, eroding tooth enamel and increasing the risk of cavities. As these health concerns gained traction, the extreme candy trend began to sour. Restrictions were placed on the sale of these candies, and many stores pulled them from their shelves. The very thing that made these candies so exciting, their intense sourness, was now seen as a potential health hazard. But the controversy didn't stop at sour candies. Remember lollipipes? These candy products were designed to look like smoking pipes, allowing kids to pretend they were puffing away on a sweet treat. While they might have seemed like harmless fun at the time, they quickly became a hot topic of debate. Critics argued that lollipipes were more than just a novelty candy. They worried these sweet smokes could be a gateway to actual smoking behaviors among children. The idea of kids mimicking adult smoking habits, even with candy, struck a nerve with parents and health advocates alike. As awareness grew about the potential risks associated with these extreme and novelty candies, the candy industry faced increasing pressure. Parents demanded safer options for their kids, and regulators took a closer look at what was being marketed to children. The story of these banned candies reflects a broader shift in how we approach children's products and safety. What was once seen as harmless fun or a thrilling challenge is now viewed through a more cautious lens. We've come to recognize that sometimes the pursuit of novelty and excitement in candy can come at a cost to our health.